Good day, viewers. Pwalpar here. Today we're going to take a little ride in the Toyota Camry. Yesterday we drove down to the curb market and got some fresh vegetables. I named a whole bunch of them that we were going to eat today. We did eat some of them, didn't eat everything I named. Yesterday we bought, pretty good helping of green beans. She sit and snapped them this morning, cooked them. We had them for supper. She's doing a little bit too much work. She's up there laying down now, but she did most of the supper preparing. I helped out when I can. She got tired and went to lay down, so I cleaned up the kitchen. I also made the cornbread this afternoon and everything I could to help her. But you can't tell her she can't do nothing. She'll get up and do it anyway. Anyway, she decided I should have bought more green beans yesterday, so what we're doing is going back to the curb market today, purchase some more green beans, bring them home, blanch them, and freeze them. And that's precisely what we did after we got back from this little jaunt. She rested a little while, sat out there on the couch and snapped 2 big bowls of beans and blanched them in hot water and got them in quart bags to put in the freezer. And nothing like good fresh green beans. Anyway, I invite you to ride along with me from my house to downtown Griffin, Georgia, to a little small curb market up at Experiment, Georgia. But we did have a pretty good supper. We had some green beans, sliced red tomatoes, a big meatloaf that she made. We had to use up some of that hamburger. I made cornbread. She sliced up a tomato. And we ate pretty good tonight. We didn't have the green tomatoes or the squash. We'll have that another time. Anyway, you're riding in the front seat of a Toyota Camry with old Pwalpar at the wheel, and we're going to town. I'll do a bit of narrating as we go along. We're on Georgia Highway 16 West. Right now, we're probably 3 or 4 miles from downtown Griffin. I'll share just a little bit of a story here with you. Oh, it's been over 30 years ago. I don't remember. Depends on how old my daughter is. My youngest daughter, she was just a baby then, and now she's got her kids of her own. Back then, this road was just a 2-lane road going into town. Now it's a 4-lane. It was probably 1 o'clock in the morning. No traffic at all out here. I don't remember what I was driving at the time, but I had that thing in the wind. I was doing about 85 miles an hour coming down this road. Sitting up on the hillside. It was a little farther east than this, but same road. Sitting up on the hillside was the Georgia Highway Patrol. And when I went by, I was buzzing. He turned on his lights while he was still up on the hill. It was a big hill like this. And started coming down the hill to come after me. And I'm still scooting on down the road. I'm probably a half or a mile ahead of him by now. Wife said, "You better pull over. He's coming to get us." I said, "I'm not going to pull over till he gets up here and catches up with me. Heck, he might have an emergency call between now and then and forget all about me." But that wasn't the case. Anyhow, it only took him a minute or so to catch up with me and get on my back bumper and turn on the blue light. I pulled over to the side of the road, put it in park, got out of the car, and stood there by the back bumper. Here he comes. "What's your big hurry, fella?" I said, "Nah, you got me fair and square, officer. I'm not going to lie to you. I was speeding." The baby's crying, upset, and I was just trying to get us home. We just live a few miles up the road here. And the baby was crying. And he heard her. He looked at me real funny and kind of casual-like and said, he had my driver's license in his hand. And he said, "Mr. Parks, you are the first honest person I've talked to all day. I'm going to let you go with a warning, but you slow that thing down." I said, "Yes, sir, Mr. Trooper. They're going to think grass is growing under my back bumper. I'll be going so slow, behaving myself going down through here, and I appreciate the big break. I learned a long time ago, it don't pay you to jump out of the car and argue with a man, tell him I wasn't speeding or what did I do wrong, give him a hard time, because all that man's going to do is start writing in his little ticket book. Honesty is always the best policy, because I was caught red-handed. Right now, we're just about to come into the outskirts of Griffin, Georgia. Here shortly, we'll be crossing over the Norfolk Southern Central Georgia line that runs between Atlanta and Macon. Shortly, we'll be up here going by the Dairy Queen building, where Country Mary did a little target practice on their building. And I don't know if it'll show in this particular video or not, but I don't know why it wouldn't. Viewers, I appreciate you riding with me today on my little trip to town in a rented Toyota. I hope you didn't find the trip too boring. If you have never driven through a small Georgia town, you can now proclaim, yes, I rode through Griffin, Georgia with Walter, a.k.a. Pwalpar. If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, consider doing so. I would greatly appreciate it. Comments are most welcome here. Have a good day, my friends.